Imagine two young men, both 22 years old, graduating from the same university in the same month, named Marcus and David. They took the same engineering classes, studied for the same final exams, and finally crossed the same graduation stage to receive their diplomas. Their families sat in the same arena, celebrating their successes and the bright futures that await them. A few weeks after graduation, both Marcus and David were offered jobs by the same technology company in a large metropolitan area. They were hired for the same entry-level position, put in the same department, and given the exact same starting salary of $50,000 a year. They opted to rent apartments in the same neighborhood, a short walk from their new office building. From any outside point of view, their opening lines were identical. They were a perfect match in terms of their intelligence, their work ethic, their backgrounds, their career paths. Their friends and families anticipated the same trajectory for professional and financial success in the years to come. But in their first week on the job, there was a quiet divergence that would completely change the course of their lives. The normal human resources induction course was scheduled for a Friday afternoon, and they were supposed to attend it. In a conference room with a few other new hires, they listened as the HR representative went over the company benefits package. The representative explained the health insurance options, the dental plan, the paid time off policy, and finally, the company 401k retirement savings plan. Each of them was given a pack of forms to sign by the representative. The retirement enrollment sheet had a box checked by default, indicating a 3% contribution rate. Most employees just sign the form and accept the default choice because it's the easiest route with no math, no additional research, no immediate choices, the representative said casually to the room. Marcus was tired after a long week of training and was ready for the weekend. He signed the form without reading the fine print. He was glad to get the administrative task over with, agreeing to the default 3% contribution rate. But David hesitated. He had spent his college years reading about the power of compound interest and the math of long-term growth. He asked the HR representative if he could take the enrollment packet home over the weekend and do the math himself. The rep agreed, telling him he had until the following Monday morning to submit his completed forms. David sat at his desk with a pencil and a calculator over the weekend. He looked at company plan options, checked the historical returns of broad market index funds, and checked how different savings rates would affect his take-home pay and his long-term wealth. David didn't take the standard 3%. He made a conscious, non-negotiable decision. On Monday morning, he handed in his form with the contribution rate set at 25%. This one decision, made in a 20-minute window on a Friday afternoon, set off a quiet, invisible chain reaction that would completely change their lives. Fast forward 13 years to the day, both men are 35. Marcus is still working the same 40-hour work week, feeling the constant, compounding stress of living paycheck to paycheck. He has a car he can't afford. He pays rent on an apartment that takes nearly half his income. He has a growing balance of credit card debt. He has a retirement account with less than $70,000 in it, and sees retirement as an impossible milestone at least 32 years away. David is 35 in a completely different reality. He has a portfolio of more than $464,000. He is only months away from his financial independence goal of $500,000, enough so that his investments will cover his basic living expenses for the rest of his life. He can walk away from his job, switch careers, start a business, or travel the world without ever having to think about how he will pay for his next meal. They started from the same position and with the same salary. Not luck, intelligence, or higher salaries made the difference. The difference was one automated decision in their first week of employment. Every morning, they got up at the same time, caught the same transit route to the office, and got coffee from the same local shop. They were in adjacent cubicles working on the same software engineering tasks under the same manager. To their colleagues, they were two sides of the same coin. But the financial path on which their lives were set was already diverging at a pace that would only become clear after a decade had passed. They didn't have the compound math explained by the HR representative who gave them their onboarding forms. She didn't tell them how 25% savings rate would grow over time, or warn them about the long-term cost of lifestyle inflation. It was just another admin session for her. He wanted to sign and get it done. He wanted to have a happy hour with his friends to celebrate it. David took the papers home because he wanted to know where his hard-earned dollars were really going. That weekend, David created a spreadsheet and took a look at the historical data of the market. He knew that starting early was his only real leverage in a system designed to make people work for 40 years. He knew that a dollar saved at 22 was worth much more than a dollar saved at 35. He knew that the math of compounding was his best chance to buy his time back. We must look at the exact mathematical breakdown of their daily living choices over the next 10 years to see how the gap between Marcus and David grew so wide. After onboarding week, Both men had to decide what to do about housing and transportation, the two biggest expenses in any household budget and the main factors in determining whether a person can build wealth. Marcus wanted the immediate benefits of his new salary. He wanted a premium living experience and rented a solo one-bedroom apartment in a modern high-rise complex near city center. The building included a rooftop pool, a modern gym, and concierge service. The rent was $1,643 a month, the national average for a one-bedroom apartment. He figured he could afford it because his gross monthly income was $4,166, not counting the effect of taxes on his real take-home pay. He wanted a car that reflected his new status in the business world. He went to a local dealership and left with a new sedan, signing a car loan for $43,582, the national average new car loan. According to Experian data, he paid $767 monthly financed over 72 months at an interest rate of 7.1%. Marcus was paying $1,017 each month for his car alone, and that was without the price of full coverage insurance, fuel, and regular upkeep. Marcus' net take-home pay after federal, state, and FICA payroll taxes was $3,529 a month. He only had $869 left for groceries, utilities, cell phone bills, subscriptions, dining out, and student loans with his rent and car costs. His automatic 3% contribution to his company retirement account was only $125 a month. Marcus was socking away $3,000 a year, plus a 3% employer match. He worked hard, but he sent nearly every dollar he made straight to landlords, car dealerships, and utility companies. David chose a totally different financial architecture. He knew that housing and transportation was the leak in wealth building, so he set up his life to minimize that. He didn't want to get his own apartment, so he found a classmate from college to split the rent, and they got a two-bedroom apartment. The national average rent for a two-bedroom apartment was $1,907, and they decided to split it evenly. David's monthly rent would be $953.50. David wouldn't buy a new car or take out any loans for transportation. He paid cash he had saved during his senior year of college for a 10-year-old used sedan from a private seller. He didn't have a car loan, so his monthly transportation cost was capped at $70 for liability insurance, $50 for gas, and $30 for a maintenance fund, $150 a month. And with those two changes, David was able to free up an additional $1,500 a month over what Marcus had. He promised to save $20,000 a year, which was 40% of his gross income. But David didn't just put the cash in a low-interest bank account. He maximized his savings for tax purposes. David put $12,500 of his $50,000 salary into a traditional pre-tax 401k. These contributions are made before federal income taxes are calculated, so his taxable gross income dropped from $50,000 to $37,500. This simple optimization saved him $1,500 in federal income taxes. Instead of paying the $7,645 Marcus paid in federal taxes, David paid only $6,145 in total federal taxes and FICA. This tax saving boosted his net take-home pay to $31,355 a year, or $2,600 of income each month. Of that amount, he automatically contributed $625 a month to a post-tax Roth individual retirement account, maxing out his annual limit of $750. This left David with exactly $1,988 a month to pay for his living expenses. David's rent was only $953.50, and his car cost was $150. So he had $884.50 left over every month for groceries, utilities, dining out, and personal spending. He was living the good life, eating well, hanging with his friends, but he was doing all that while building a massive financial engine in the background. Marcus's luxury apartment complex was gorgeous, with a marble lobby, controlled access, and a rooftop lounge overlooking the city skyline. It was the sort of building that shouted success at any visitor, but there were hidden costs to it. Marcus had to shell out an extra $50 a month for trash valet, $75 for high-speed internet, and $150 for a secure garage parking space. Utilities averaged about $180 a month. All these charges were tacked onto his base rent. His new car was another source of pride, but also of constant drain. The sales manager at the dealership talked him into thinking that the low monthly payment of $767 was a great deal, but he did not tell him that Marcus would be paying interest for 6 years. The gap insurance and the extended warranty added another $3,000 to the loan balance, so Marcus was paying interest on top of interest. He was so focused on the monthly payment that he failed to realize that by the time the loan was paid off, the vehicle would cost more than $54,000. By contrast, David's car was a used one, basic and reliable, and paid for in cash. On weekends, he spent 20 minutes washing it in the driveway. There was never a monthly bill to worry about. His 2-bedroom apartment was in a slightly older building 3 blocks away, but it had lots of space, a clean kitchen, and a quiet setting. His roommate was a quiet accounting graduate with a similar passion for simple living. David's total housing costs were less than half of what Marcus was paying, with rent shared and utilities split. David also did meal prep on Sundays, only spending $300 a month on groceries by shopping at local discount markets. Meanwhile, Marcus spent over $700 a month on takeout, delivery apps, and dining out with coworkers. This budget discipline meant David was able to save 40% of his income and still feel like he wasn't missing out on life. The key tool in his strategy was the pre-tax traditional 401k. The money was taken directly out of David's paycheck before taxes, so he didn't have to consciously decide to save it each month. The system worked for him, and at the same time it lowered his federal tax bill. The gulf between these two lifestyles is a stark reminder of the structural reality of the modern financial system. The economy is designed to extract wealth from people who don't understand the math, and feed it to the institutions that handle their debts and fees. This is not opinion, this is a mathematical fact that is recorded in institutional data. Think about the retirement savings crisis in America. In fact, the Federal Reserve's 2024 Survey of Consumer Finances reveals that the median retirement savings for Americans who are close to retirement, those between the ages of 55 and 64, is just $135,000. But according to the 4% safe withdrawal rule, which was developed by researchers to ensure a portfolio lasts at least 30 years, a $135,000 retirement fund will only allow a safe annual withdrawal of $5,400. That's only $450 a month. And even with the addition of the average Social Security benefit, which will be about $1,907 a month in 2026, the total monthly income is only $2,357. The Consumer Expenditure Survey from the Bureau of Labor Statistics states that the average monthly expenditure for a household with a head of 65 or older is about $4,300. That leaves a huge shortfall of nearly $2,000 a month. For the average American, the default retirement plan is a slow slide into financial distress. This crisis is a consequence of how we buy assets, especially cars. The average loan amount for a new vehicle was $43,582, with an average loan term of 68.9 months, according to the Experience State of the Automotive Finance Market Report for the end of 2025. Consumers are signing up for an average of 6 years and 9 months of payments, at an average rate of 7.1%. The borrower pays about $8,900 in interest alone over the life of that loan, and the car depreciates to 60% of its purchase value by the time the loan is paid off. Credit card debt, meanwhile, has soared to record levels. Earlier this year, 2026, data from the Federal Reserve showed that the average annual percentage rate on credit cards that actually charge interest hit 22.3%, the highest such level on record in the data series. The average credit card balance per cardholder is about $6,500. If a cardholder only makes the minimum monthly payment of $130, it will take over 7 years to pay off that balance and cost more than $3,600 in interest. So of that $130 payment, $90 goes to interest, and only $40 goes to the principal balance. This is the minimum payment structure the credit card companies set up. The consumer is put on a never-ending hamster wheel of high-interest debt. One of the most detailed reports on American household wealth is the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, conducted every 3 years to provide a comprehensive picture of assets, debts, and savings. The findings are all sobering. $135,000 is the median retirement savings for households nearing retirement, meaning half of families in this age bracket have even less. The average is skewed upward by a few people with enormous retirement accounts, but the median is a more realistic snapshot. The safe withdrawal rate of 4%, also known as the withdrawal guidelines from the Trinity study, is designed to keep a retiree from running out of money in market downturns. The study examined historical market data over several decades, including the Great Depression and the high inflation of the 1970s, and found that a 4% initial withdrawal, increased annually for inflation, has a 95% success rate of lasting 30 years. If a retiree tries to take out more than 4%, the risk of running out of money increases exponentially. That's why the low median savings is so dangerous. It forces retirees to live in poverty or risk running out of money in their 70s. The Experian Auto Loan database tracks millions of active loans and shows how car buying habits have changed over the last decade. The average car loan term was 36 or 48 months. But car prices have gone through the roof, so lenders have pushed terms out to 72 and even 84 months to make the monthly payments look affordable. This means buyers are paying interest on an asset that is depreciating rapidly, and many are finding themselves in a position where they owe more on the car than it is worth. According to the Federal Reserve's credit card database, credit card interest rates have skyrocketed, making it more difficult than ever to get out of revolving debt. When a consumer carries a balance, interest is compounded on a daily basis and added to the balance on a monthly basis. This produces a compound interest curve that works against them. To get out of this extraction machine, you have to put in place a simple, automated system that favors your future self. The first core habit is the opposite of pay yourself first. In general, money tends to flow in a progressive fashion. You get paid, you pay your bills, you spend money on entertainment and lifestyle, and you save what you have left over at the end of the month. The problem is that there is almost never any left over, because human psychology follows Parkinson's law, which is that your spending will always expand to fill your available income. The pay yourself first inversion reverses this dynamic. As soon as you're paid, a set percentage of your paycheck automatically transfers to your investment and savings accounts before you even think about spending the money. By taking the cash out of your checking account first, your brain never sees it as available cash and your lifestyle adjusts to what's left. The second core habit is the boring index fund strategy. The financial industry and the media, they make money by making investing seem complicated and encouraging you to pick individual stocks and trade options and watch the market hourly. But Dalbar's 2024 quantitative analysis of investor behavior revealed that for 15 consecutive years, the average equity fund investor underperformed the S&P 500 index by an average of 8.5 percentage points annually. This huge underperformance happens when individual investors make decisions based on their emotions, buying at the market's peak and panic selling at temporary lows. The most boring way to go about it is the best way. Buy a low-cost index fund that replicates the S&P 500. Fidelity has an index fund, FXAIX, and Vanguard has an exchange-traded fund, VOO. These funds charge almost nothing in management fees. FXAIX has an expense ratio of only 0.015%, and VOO costs 0.03%. And that means nearly every dollar you invest goes right to building your personal net worth. Automate your contributions, and don't check your balance or trade every day. Just let compounding work on autopilot. Simplicity is not a compromise, it is the ultimate strategy. The pay yourself first inversion is powerful because it takes human willpower out of the equation. Most financial advisors will tell you to budget, track your expenses, and use spreadsheets to track your cash flow. These methods can work, but they require constant discipline and daily decisions. Every time you take out your wallet, you have to choose to spend or to save. Eventually, decision fatigue kicks in and you buy on impulse. The inversion solves this weakness by automating the savings process. The day your pay arrives, the money goes into your investment accounts before you even open your bank. No willpower required. The money is already gone. S&P 500 Index is an index of 500 largest publicly traded companies in the United States. It includes the technology, healthcare, finance, and consumer goods. When you buy a S&P 500 index fund, you are immediately buying a piece of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, and hundreds of other successful companies. The index is self-cleaning. As companies fail, they get smaller and removed from the index, and growing companies replace them. This means you don't have to do research on individual stocks or try to guess which company will be the next big success. You just own the whole American economy. The SPIVA reports, published by S&P Dow Jones Indices, consistently show that 92% of actively managed mutual funds fail to beat the S&P 500 index over a period of 15 years. These professional managers have advanced degrees, proprietary data, and huge research teams. But they can't beat a simple index fund because their fees are too high and they make emotional trading decisions. If you buy a cheap index fund like FXAIX or VOO and hold it for the long term, you are almost certain to outperform most professional investors. We must understand that the financial problems most men face are not because of character flaws or lack of discipline. They are the natural outgrowth of a system set up to encourage consumption and discourage investment. So there is a financial literacy gap, and complexity is very profitable for the financial services industry. High-fee actively managed mutual funds, complex insurance products, and full-service wealth management accounts are aggressively marketed as they generate huge fees for banks and brokers. A simple index fund like VOO has no active management and costs almost nothing. But because it is cheap, no financial advisor or bank representative has any incentive to tell you about it. Information asymmetry is a very profitable model for Wall Street. Additionally, modern consumer culture attracts men by linking material expenditure with individual success and masculinity. So the marketing machine tells young men that the truck they drive, the luxury watch they wear, the premium apartment they rent, and the expensive tech setups they own are the ultimate status symbols of having made it. The guy who drives a 10-year-old used car and maxes out his retirement accounts is culturally invisible. The guy who finances a $50,000 car at 7% interest is validated as successful. This is a consumer marketing machine that seeks to remove all friction from spending. Buying things online takes less than 15 seconds, but opening up a brokerage account and setting up automatic transfers takes 20 minutes of focused effort. This is no friction differential accident. That's by design, to make sure that spending happens immediately, while saving and investing require thought and planning. The move from defined benefit pension plans to defined contribution plans like the 401k began in the late 1970s and was largely complete by the late 1990s. In the past, pensions were offered by companies that guaranteed a set monthly payment in retirement, depending on years of service. The company took the risk to invest and ran the pension fund. Pensions were replaced by 401k plans, where the investment risk was shifted entirely to the employee. Most workers never learned how to run a portfolio, how to pick mutual funds, or how to deal with market volatility. They just got a packet of information and were told to save for their own retirement. The financial services industry exploited this transition to create complex high-fee products that promised to ease the process but actually eroded investor returns. Fees in actively managed funds, annuities, and advisory services compound over time and can eat into as much as 1/3 of an investor's potential wealth over a 30-year career. They spend billions of dollars marketing to convince you that investing is too difficult for you to do on your own. This creates a barrier of intimidation. At the same time, consumer marketing aimed at men has become very sophisticated. Social media algorithms, targeted ads, and influencer culture push an idealized lifestyle of constant consumption. The truck, the watch, the luxury apartment, the tech gear are all necessary elements to a successful man's identity. This marketing is meant to create a sense of lack that can only be filled through a purchase. Trading apps and sports betting platforms gamify finance and favor short-term speculation over long-term investing. The whole system is designed to keep you focused on short-term consumption and to keep you from developing any real independence. If you want to opt out of this extraction machine, you have to take control of your financial architecture. This week, you can create a full automated wealth system in under 1 hour by taking 4 concrete steps. Step 1. Open a high-interest savings account with SoFi or Ally. Traditional branch banks pay an average interest rate of only 0.8%, while high-yield savings accounts pay over 4%. Move your emergency savings into a high-yield account and watch the interest you earn grow more than 10 times in 20 minutes. Then log into your employer's payroll portal and update your 401k contribution rate. If your employer offers a match, you need to contribute at least enough so you get the full match. So that's immediate free money you can't afford to leave on the table. If you want to accelerate your journey to freedom like David did, set your pre-tax contribution at $12,500 a year, which will immediately lower your federal tax bill and keep $125 a month in your pocket instead of sending it to the government. Third, open a Roth IRA at Fidelity or Vanguard. Set up an automatic monthly transfer of $625 from your checking account to your Roth IRA. This will max out your annual contribution limit of $750. Have the platform automatically invest that money in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, like FXAIX or VOO. 4. Conduct a fee audit on any existing investment accounts. If you have money in funds with expense ratios above 0.1%, trade them in for low-cost index funds. This one change can save you over $170,000 in lost compound growth over a 20-year career. Once you have done these 4 steps, your financial system will be fully automated. There is no need for daily attention, stock picking, or active management. You need to know how each account works in order to successfully follow through with these steps. A high-yield savings account is like a regular savings account, but it's offered by online banks that don't have the overhead costs of physical branches. They cut costs on rent and bank teller salaries and pass those savings on to you with higher interest rates. The transfer process is simple. You sign up online, link your current checking account, and request an electronic transfer. Your funds are fully liquid, so if you have an emergency, you can transfer them back to your checking account at any time. The employer 401k match is the closest thing to a free lunch there is in the financial world. If your company matches $1 for $1 up to 4% of your salary, for instance, You have doubled your money instantly if you contribute 4% before any market growth has even taken place. That's a 100% return on your money, day one. If you don't put enough in to get the match, you are basically taking a pay cut. Opening a Roth IRA is just as simple. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account. You put in post-tax dollars, but all of the growth and future withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free. That is a huge benefit for young investors, whose money has decades to grow tax-free. When you open the account at a brokerage like Fidelity, you'll need to link your bank account and set up a recurring contribution. But it is not enough to simply put money into the account. You also have to choose an investment. You can sign up for the platform to purchase shares of FXAIX or VOO automatically every time you make a contribution. The fee audit is equally important. A lot of old mutual funds and employer plans have expense ratios of 1% or more. A 1% fee over 20 years can mean tens of thousands of dollars less in your final portfolio value. That growth is yours to keep by switching to index funds with fees close to zero. Let's go back to 35-year-old Marcus and David. The two men worked for 13 years. Both made $50,000 a year in inflation-adjusted dollars. But the wealth gap between them is staggering. Marcus did what everyone else did. He rented the single apartment, drove the new financed car, and left his retirement on the defaults. At 35, Marcus has $69,644 saved for retirement, but still owes $30,000 on his car, has credit card debt, and is locked into another 32 years of labor until he reaches the standard retirement age of 67. David chose to build his own system. He had a roommate, drove a used car, optimized his taxes, and automated $20,000 a year into S&P 500 index funds. David is 35 years old and has $464,298 invested. By the time he is 36, his portfolio will be over $500,000. A $500,000 portfolio using the 4% rule for safe withdrawal will generate $20,000 a year in inflation-adjusted income forever. David has set up his life so that he can live comfortably on $20,000 a year. Now he is financially free. He doesn't have to work to pay his living expenses. If he works, it is because he wants to, not because he has to. Now his money works harder than he does. And this type of freedom is not exclusive to the rich. It's the simple mathematical result of making a few non-negotiable decisions early in life and letting the compound curve run undisturbed. The system that David used is still around and easier and cheaper to access than ever before. The math does not care about your intentions, your background, or your excuses. It just cares about your start date. The compound curve is ready to begin running for you, or it will run without you. The decision to start is 100% yours. Look at Marcus and David at age 35. The difference in their net worth has created a profound difference in their mental well-being and life options. Marcus is frozen. He hates his job but can't afford to quit or take a lower-paying role because his monthly bills need every dollar of his salary. He is under pressure from the threat of layoffs and has no financial safety net and feels that his life is controlled by his employer. His financed car and luxury rent have become golden handcuffs, tying him to a career path he no longer enjoys. David has made peace, not measured in dollars. His investments pay for his living expenses, so he has complete control of his time. He can take a part-time job, consult, change to a creative career, or take a year off and travel. He has bought his freedom. Ronald Reed, the janitor who built an $8 million estate, and Earl Crawley, the parking lot attendant who built $500,000, showed that the math of compound interest is the great equalizer. They didn't need to get big salaries, lucky stock picks, or inside tips. They just started early, stayed consistent, and didn't get in the way of compounding. The tools they used are even cheaper and more readily available today. The math of compounding is a law of nature, as predictable as gravity. It doesn't matter where you came from, what you earned, or what family you were born into. All it needs is your start date. The compound curve is ready to start running for you, or it will run without you. The choice is yours whether you want to build your system or buy your time back. You can take the first step this afternoon, or you can let another year pass with the math running on you.